You have 30 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't destroy everything you've ever loved. The voice on the other end of the phone wasn't shouting. It was worse. It was calm. Cold. The kind of calm that comes after the storm has already ripped the roof off your house and you're just standing there in the rain, wondering why you ever built it in the first place. My hand was shaking so hard the phone nearly slipped from my grip. Outside the grimy window of my one-room apartment, the city was waking up, car horns, distant sirens, the smell of exhaust and yesterday's garbage baking in the sun. None of it mattered. Not anymore. They're not coming, Evelyn. The voice continued, smooth as poisoned honey. Not the lawyers, not the appeals board, not the governor. You're going away for a very, very long time. And those kids you think you saved? They're going to watch you rot. I closed my eyes. 25 years. 25 years of scraped-together meals, of second-hand clothes, of nights spent awake listening to nightmares from children who'd seen things no child should ever see. 25 years of love poured into 3 broken souls, hoping, praying, it would be enough to glue them back together. And now it was all for nothing. They were going to take me away, lock me in a cage, for something I didn't do. My breath hitched, a ragged, ugly sound. Why? I whispered, the word barely audible even to myself. Why are you doing this? A soft, humorless chuckle crackled down the line. Because you were never supposed to matter, Evelyn. You were just convenient. The line went dead. Silence crashed down, thick and suffocating. I stared at the cracked screen of the phone, my reflection warped and distorted. Who was I now? The woman who took in 3 homeless kids? Or the woman they were about to bury alive? The 2 identities warred inside me, tearing me apart. I'd built my entire life around those children. They were my purpose, my joy, my reason for getting up every single morning, even when the world felt like it was ending. And now the system, the same system that had failed them so spectacularly, was about to fail me too. A single, hot tear traced a path down my cheek. I didn't wipe it away. What was the point? Let it fall. Let it all fall. Hey, my friend, hope you're doing well. Drop a comment and let me know how you're feeling about this story so far and where you are watching from. Some stories are too close to my heart to share on YouTube. I send those, along with little life lessons and surprises, to my email circle. If you'd like to be part of it, you can join with the link in the description. The ticking clock wasn't metaphorical. It was the heavy, relentless thud of my own heartbeat in my ears, counting down the minutes until my transport to the state penitentiary arrived. They'd given me a date, a time, final, irrevocable. My lawyer, a kind but perpetually overwhelmed public defender named Mr. Finch, had visited yesterday. His eyes, usually bright with a stubborn, if weary, optimism, were dull, defeated. Evelyn, he'd said, sinking into the plastic chair across from me in the visitation room, the thick glass between us feeling more like a tombstone than a barrier. We've exhausted every avenue. The new evidence, it's damning. And the witness, well, their testimony is rock solid. I'm so sorry. Rock solid. I'd echoed, my voice flat. Someone lied, Mr. Finch. Someone set me up. You know that, don't you? He'd looked down at his hands, calloused and ink-stained. I know what the evidence says, Evelyn. And right now, the evidence says you're guilty of embezzling $500,000 from the community center. The money's gone. Your signatures on the withdrawal forms. And the security footage, it shows you. It didn't show me. Not really. It showed someone who looked like me, moved like me, wore my favorite blue cardigan. But it wasn't me. I'd been home that night, sick with the flu, tucked into bed by Malik, who was 16 then and already acting more like a parent than a child. He'd brought me soup. He'd read to me. He'd been there. But who would believe a kid from the streets? Especially when the system had already decided I was the perfect scapegoat, a middle-aged black woman running a small, underfunded community center. Easy to blame, easy to forget. The first crucial clue was hidden in plain sight, buried in the mountain of paperwork Mr. Finch had dumped on the table. A single-line item on a bank statement from 3 months ago. A small, recurring withdrawal flagged by the bank's fraud detection system, but dismissed as a customer error. The amount was insignificant, $20 a week. Barely enough for groceries. But the account it was being pulled from, it wasn't the community center's main operating fund. It was a separate, forgotten savings account, one I'd opened years ago, in a different name, for a different life. A life before the kids. A life I tried so hard to erase. Why would someone be siphoning $20 a week from an account I hadn't touched in over a decade? And why now, just as the embezzlement case was heating up? It was a whisper, a tiny insignificant detail lost in the roar of the prosecution's narrative. But it was there. A thread, however thin, leading away from me. The devastating revelation that recontextualized everything came not from a phone call, not from Mr. Finch, but from a knock on my apartment door an hour later. I wasn't expecting anyone. Visitors were a luxury I couldn't afford, not with the bailiffs circling and my world crumbling. I peered through the peephole, my heart hammering against my ribs. Standing on the worn welcome mat, looking impossibly tall and serious in a dark suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent, was Jamal. My Jamal. The quiet, thoughtful boy who used to hide behind my skirts when strangers came to the community center. The teenager who'd spent hours in the library, teaching himself coding. The young man who'd just graduated top of his class from law school. He looked older, harder. The softness around his eyes had been replaced by a sharp, focused intensity. He held a thick manila envelope in one hand. Jamal. I opened the door, my voice trembling. What are you doing here? You shouldn't. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, his gaze sweeping the small, cluttered room. His eyes lingered on the framed photo on the shelf, the four of us, arms slung around each other, grinning like fools on graduation day. Malik, tall and proud. Keisha, radiant in her cap and gown. Jamal, looking slightly uncomfortable but happy. And me, beaming, my heart so full it felt like it might burst. I came to stop you from going to prison, Mama Evelyn, he said, his voice low and steady. He placed the envelope on my rickety kitchen table. Because you didn't steal that money. And I can prove it. He didn't say who did. Not yet. He just opened the envelope and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It was a copy of a birth certificate. My birth certificate. Except it wasn't mine. The name was wrong. The date of birth was wrong. And the mother's name sent a jolt of pure, icy dread straight through my core. It wasn't the name of the woman who'd raised me. It was the name of the woman who'd abandoned me on a church doorstep when I was 3 days old. The woman whose face I'd only seen in faded, angry memories. The woman I'd spent my entire life trying to be nothing like. The woman who, according to this document, was very much alive. And, according to Jamal's grim expression, very much involved in the plot to destroy me. The foundation of my world, already cracked, shattered completely. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about my past, about the life I'd built, it was all a lie. And the people I loved most in the world, the 3 kids I'd saved, they were walking straight into the lion's den to save me. A lioness who, it seemed, had never really gone away. The first betrayal wasn't a shout. It was a sigh. A long, weary sigh that seemed to come from the very bones of the old community center building. It was Malik, standing in the doorway of my tiny office. His broad shoulders slumped, his usually bright, mischievous eyes dull with a resignation that looked far too heavy for his 19 years. I talked to Detective Rollins again, Mama E., he said, leaning against the doorframe. The late afternoon sun streamed through the dusty window, catching the gold flecks in his dark eyes. He's not budging. Says the evidence is airtight. He made air quotes with his fingers, a gesture that looked absurdly childish on his suddenly aged face. I looked up from the stack of invoices I was trying, futilely, to reconcile. My hands were stained with ink and dust. And what did you tell him, baby? I told him you didn't do it, Malik said, his voice firm. I told him you were home sick that night. That I was here. That Keisha was here. That Jamal was here. All of us. And he looked away, out the window at the overgrown patch of grass that passed for a playground. He said kids lie. Especially kids with, histories. He spat the last word out like it was poison. The familiar, hot sting of injustice flared in my chest, but I pushed it down. For Malik. They don't know you, sweetheart. They don't know any of you. They see what they want to see. Malik pushed off the doorframe and walked over, pulling up a rickety chair. He sat down heavily, the chair groaning in protest. That's just it, Mama E. I think someone wants them to see you this way. Someone's feeding them this story. I froze. What do you mean? He leaned forward, lowering his voice, even though we were alone in the building. I've been digging. Online. In the old center records. That money, the $500,000, it didn't just vanish. It was moved. In chunks. Over months. And the signature, he shook his head. It's good. Really good. Almost perfect. But not quite. There's a slight tremor on the V in Evelyn. You don't have a tremor. My breath caught. I'd noticed that too, staring at the blown-up photocopy the police had shown me. A tiny, almost imperceptible shake. I chalked it up to stress, to the copier being faulty. But Malik, with his artist's eye, had seen it for what it was, a forgery. Who, Malik? I whispered. Who would do this? He looked at me, his expression unreadable. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. I promise you. In that moment, I believed him. I believed in his fierce, protective love, in his sharp mind, in his unwavering loyalty. He was my rock, my firstborn, in every way that mattered. He'd been 7 when I found him, shivering and half-starved under the awning of a closed bodega during a freezing November rain. He hadn't cried. Not once. He just looked up at me with those big, haunted eyes and asked, "You got any food, lady?" I'd taken him home, fed him, listened to his fractured, terrified story of foster homes and neglect. And I'd never let him go. He'd become my shadow, my helper, my confidant. He knew this place, this community, better than anyone. If anyone could find the truth, it was Malik. The trust-betrayal-redemption cycle began with that moment of pure, unshakable faith. I trusted him with my life, with my freedom. The backstory wasn't something I dwelled on. It was a collection of sharp, painful fragments, like broken glass I kept carefully wrapped and tucked away in a dark corner of my mind. I was Evelyn Reed. I ran the New Dawn Community Center on the corner of 5th and Elm. I took in kids the system forgot. That was my identity, my purpose. But Jamal's visit and that damned birth certificate had ripped the wrapping off. My real name wasn't Evelyn Reed. It was Evangeline Thorne, born to a woman named Cassandra Thorne, a name that tasted like ash in my mouth. Cassandra hadn't wanted a baby. She'd wanted freedom, excitement, a life unburdened by responsibility. So 3 days after I drew my first breath, she left me on the steps of St. Bridget's Church with nothing but a note pinned to my blanket. Her name is Evangeline. Please take care of her. I can't. I was adopted by the Reeds. Harold and Martha. Good, kind, church-going people who lived in a quiet, tree-lined suburb. They gave me love, stability, a good education. They were fine. But they were also distant, reserved. They treated me with a careful, almost clinical kindness, as if I were a fragile, borrowed thing that might break if handled too roughly. They never talked about Cassandra. When I asked, Martha would simply say, "She wasn't ready to be a mother, dear." We were. That's what matters. What mattered was the gnawing emptiness, the feeling of being fundamentally unrooted. I was Evelyn Reed, but I didn't feel like one. I felt like an imposter in their tidy, quiet home. I craved noise, chaos, connection. I volunteered at shelters. I tutored kids in rough neighborhoods. I felt alive when I was helping someone who was truly, desperately lost. That's how I ended up at the old, abandoned warehouse on the edge of the industrial district. I was 25, working a soul-crushing office job, feeling more adrift than ever. I went there on a dare from a friend to see the graffiti. What I found was Malik huddled in a corner, trying to light a damp piece of cardboard on fire to stay warm. Bringing him home was the first truly selfish, reckless, wonderful thing I'd ever done. Harold and Martha were horrified. "Evelyn, be reasonable. You're a single woman. What about your career? Your safety? They didn't understand. Malik wasn't a burden. He was an anchor. He gave my life meaning. Finding Keisha came 6 months later. She was 12, a tiny, fierce ball of anger and hurt, caught shoplifting a loaf of bread from a corner store. The owner, Mr. Henderson, a gruff but soft-hearted man, was going to call the cops. I intervened, offered to pay for the bread, asked Keisha to come with me for a cup of hot chocolate. She'd glared at me, suspicion burning in her dark eyes. Why you helping me, lady? What you want? Nothing, I'd said. Just someone to drink hot chocolate with. She'd come, sat stiffly in my tiny kitchen, clutching the mug like a lifeline, tears silently streaming down her face as she told me about the uncle who'd kicked her out, about the nights spent sleeping in doorways, about how hungry she was. Always hungry. Jamal found us. Or rather, we found him. He was 15, impossibly thin, hiding in the library stacks at the community center I'd just started renting space in. He was reading a book on constitutional law. I'd asked him why. He'd looked up, his eyes huge and intelligent behind smudged glasses. So I can learn how to make the people who hurt Keisha and Malik go away forever, he'd said, his voice quiet but steely. That was the beginning. My little, broken, beautiful family. We moved into a bigger apartment. I quit my job and poured every penny, every ounce of energy into building the New Dawn Community Center from the ground up. Grants, bake sales, begging, borrowing. We did it together. Malik painted the walls. Keisha organized the donation drives. Jamal handled the books, even then showing a preternatural talent for numbers. We were a unit, a tribe, bound by shared trauma, shared struggle, and an unbreakable, fiercely protective love. I was their mother. They were my children. Nothing else mattered. The hidden agenda belonged to Keisha, or rather, to the person she'd become. The angry, mistrustful 12-year-old had blossomed into a stunning, charismatic young woman. She'd gone to college on a full scholarship, studied social work, and now ran the center's outreach program. She was beloved by the kids, a natural leader. But lately, there'd been a distance, a coolness in her eyes when she looked at me. She'd started dressing differently, sharper, more expensive. She'd taken to carrying a sleek new briefcase. I'd asked her about it once. Got a new job, Mama E. I teased, trying to lighten the mood. She just smiled, a tight, humorless curve of her lips. Just some consulting work on the side. Pays better than saving the world, you know. She'd walked away before I could ask more. The emotional vulnerability window came unexpectedly. It was late. The center was closed. I was locking up, tired to my bones. Keisha was still there, sitting alone at a table in the empty common room, staring blankly at her laptop screen. The glow illuminated her face, highlighting the shadows under her eyes. "Hey, baby," I said softly, walking over. "You okay? You've been working awful late." She jumped, startled, quickly closing the laptop lid. "Yeah, fine. Just finishing up some grant reports." I pulled out a chair and sat down beside her. "Keisha, talk to me. Is it the job? The money? You know you can always." "It's not the money, Mama E," she snapped, the sudden outburst shocking me into silence. She took a deep, shuddering breath, running a hand through her short, stylishly cut hair. It's everything. It's this place. It's you." "Me?" My heart sank. "What about me?" She looked at me then, and the raw pain in her eyes stole my breath. "You saved us. You gave us everything. And I love you. I do. More than anything. But sometimes it feels like you're still trying to fix us. Like we're still those broken kids you found. Like we'll never be enough. Just as we are." The accusation hit me like a physical blow. "Keisha, that's not true. I'm so proud of you. Of all of you." "Are you?" she whispered, tears welling up. "Or are you just proud of the idea of us? The idea of the woman who rescued 3 lost souls? What happens when the story isn't so perfect anymore, Mama E? What happens when the kids you saved save you back?" Before I could answer, before I could even process her words, she stood up, wiping her eyes angrily. "I'm tired. I'm going home." She grabbed her briefcase and walked out, leaving me alone in the echoing silence, her words hanging in the air like a challenge or a threat. The dramatic irony was a heavy cloak I wore alone. The audience, the reader, knew Jamal had proof of my innocence. They knew about the forged signature, the hidden bank account, the existence of Cassandra Thorne. They knew Keisha was hiding something, burdened by a secret that was tearing her apart. They knew Malik was digging dangerously close to the truth. But I, Evelyn, knew none of it. I only knew the crushing weight of the charges against me, the terrifying certainty of my impending incarceration, and the agonizing fear that my children were walking into a trap I couldn't protect them from. I was blind, stumbling forward on faith and love alone, while the audience watched, hearts in their throats, screaming silently for me to see what was right in front of me. The inciting catastrophe didn't arrive with sirens or flashing lights. It arrived with a polite knock on the door of my lawyer's office. Mr. Finch opened it, his face pale. Standing there, flanked by two stone-faced bailiffs, was Detective Rollins, holding a set of handcuffs and a court order. "Evelyn Reed?" Rollins asked, though he knew damn well who I was. His eyes, cold and impersonal, scanned the room, lingering for a fraction of a second on the photo of my kids on my lawyer's desk. "Your appeal has been denied. The governor has declined to intervene. You're to be remanded into custody immediately to begin serving your sentence." The world tilted. The floor seemed to rush up to meet me. Mr. Finch shot to his feet. "Detective, this is highly irregular. We were expecting notification. Time to." "Procedure's been followed, Counselor." Rollins cut him off, his voice flat. He stepped forward, the cold metal of the cuffs glinting under the fluorescent lights. "Ms. Reed, please stand up and turn around." This was it. The point of no return. No more appeals. No more delays. The system had spoken. I was going to prison. Panic, pure and primal, surged through me. I thought of my kids. Malik, probably pacing a hole in the floor at the center. Keisha, God knows where, carrying her secret burden. Jamal, with his envelope of secrets and his grim determination. I couldn't leave them. Not like this. Not when they were finally finding their footing in the world. I was supposed to be there to see Malik open his art studio, to watch Keisha get her master's degree, to see Jamal argue his first case in court. "Please," I whispered, my voice thick with tears I refused to shed in front of this man. Just give me 5 minutes. Let me call them. Let me say goodbye." Rollins's expression didn't flicker. "You'll have access to a phone at the facility. Turn around, Ms. Reed." The bailiffs moved closer, their presence a physical wall of inevitability. Mr. Finch looked helpless, his shoulders slumped in defeat. This was the end. The door to my old life was slamming shut. Then the door to the office burst open. Stop. It was Jamal. He stood in the doorway, breathing hard, his suit jacket askew, his tie crooked. He looked like he'd run 10 miles. In his hand, he clutched not the manila envelope, but a single, folded piece of paper. Detective Rollins sighed, a sound of profound annoyance. "Mr. Carter, this is not the time or the place. Your guardian is under arrest. Please step aside." Jamal didn't move. He locked eyes with me, and in that gaze, I saw a fire I'd never seen before. A fierce, protective, almost terrifying resolve. "I have new evidence, Detective," he said, his voice clear and strong, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Evidence that proves Evelyn Reed is innocent. Evidence that names the real embezzler." Rollins raised an eyebrow, a flicker of skepticism crossing his face. "Oh, and who might that be, Counselor?" Jamal took a step into the room, holding out the paper. "It's right here. A sworn affidavit from the bank manager, confirming the signature on the withdrawal forms is a forgery, and corroborating financial records showing the money was funneled through a shell corporation, owned by Cassandra Thorne." The name hit the room like a thunderclap. Mr. Finch gasped. The bailiffs exchanged confused glances. Detective Rollins's carefully composed mask slipped, just for a second, revealing genuine surprise. "Cassandra Thorne," he repeated slowly. "And who exactly is Cassandra Thorne?" Jamal looked at me, his expression unreadable. She's Evelyn's biological mother, and she's been living under an assumed name right here in the city for the past 10 years. The revelation was a physical force. My knees buckled. Cassandra. Here? All this time? Watching? Waiting? The woman who abandoned me was the woman trying to destroy me? The pieces, jagged and horrifying, started to click into place. The small withdrawals from the old account. The meticulous forgery. The timing. It wasn't random. It was personal. Viciously, hatefully personal. The stakes, already unbearably high, just exploded. This wasn't just about my freedom anymore. It was about my past, my identity, the very foundation of my life. And it was about my children. If Cassandra was here, if she was capable of this, what else was she capable of? Were my kids safe? Detective Rollins stared at the paper Jamal held out, then at me, then back at Jamal. The air crackled with tension. The bailiffs shifted uneasily. Mr. Finch looked like he might faint. "All right," Rollins said finally, his voice tight. He took the paper from Jamal. "This changes things. Temporarily." He looked at the bailiffs. "Stand down. For now." He turned back to me, his gaze cold and assessing. "Ms. Reed, you're not going anywhere. Not yet. But you're also not free. You're to remain under house arrest. Surrender your passport. Check in with my office daily. And you," he pointed a finger at Jamal, "you're going to tell me everything you know. Right now." He turned and walked out, barking orders into his radio. The bailiffs followed, casting wary glances back at us. Mr. Finch sank back into his chair, muttering, "My God. My God." Jamal walked over to me, his face pale but determined. He put a steadying hand on my arm. "It's going to be okay, Mama Evelyn. I promise. We're going to fix this." But the look in his eyes told a different story. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. And the enemy wasn't some faceless bureaucrat or a random criminal. It was my own flesh and blood. The woman who gave me life, and now seemed hell-bent on taking everything else away. The rising pressure didn't come from the legal system, not anymore. It came from within our own fractured family. The revelation about Cassandra Thorne was a bomb that had detonated in the center of our lives, and the shrapnel was tearing us apart. Malik was furious. Not at Cassandra, not yet. At me. "You knew," he demanded, pacing the length of my cramped living room like a caged tiger. "All these years, Mama E., you knew she was alive? And you didn't tell us." I didn't know. I insisted, my voice rising to match his. "Jamal found the birth certificate, Malik. That was the first I'd heard of her in decades." "But you knew she existed," he shot back, whirling to face me. "You knew she abandoned you. And you never said a word. What else are you hiding from us?" The accusation stung. "I didn't tell you because it didn't matter." I cried. "She was gone. She was a ghost. You three were my family. That's all that mattered. Until she decided to come back and ruin your life." Malik yelled. "And now she's going to ruin ours too. Don't you get it? She's targeting you, but she's using us to do it. She knows how much we love you. She's counting on it." He was right. The realization was a cold knife in my gut. Cassandra wasn't just after me. She was after the life I'd built, the family I'd created. She wanted to destroy everything that proved I was better than her, that I was capable of the love she'd thrown away. Keisha was quieter, but no less volatile. She'd arrived at my apartment shortly after Malik, her face pale, her eyes red-rimmed. She didn't yell. She just sat on the edge of my sofa, clutching her briefcase like a shield, staring at the floor. "Keisha, baby, talk to me," I pleaded, kneeling in front of her. "What's going on? What aren't you telling us?" She looked up, and the despair in her eyes was almost too much to bear. "I tried to protect you, Mama E.," she whispered. "I really did." "Protect me? From what?" "From her." Keisha's voice was barely audible. I met her. Months ago. Before any of this, before the embezzlement." The room went deathly quiet. Malik stopped pacing. Jamal, who had been standing silently by the window, turned to look at her. "What?" I breathed. "She came to the center," Keisha continued, her voice trembling. "Said she was a donor. interested in our work. She was charming, elegant. She asked about you, about us. She said she'd heard so many wonderful things about the saintly Evelyn Reed and her miracle children. Keisha's lip curled in disgust. I thought she was genuine. I was flattered. I told her things. About the center's finances. About you. About how hard you worked. How much you sacrificed. The betrayal was a physical blow. I felt the blood drain from my face. Keisha, why didn't you tell me? Because she scared me. Keisha burst out, tears finally spilling over. After a few meetings, she started asking strange questions. About your past. About whether you ever talked about her. About whether you had any old documents, any records. And then she offered me money. A lot of money. To keep feeding her information. To look the other way if anything unusual happened with the center's accounts. Oh, Keisha, I whispered, my heart breaking for her. I said no, she insisted, her voice cracking. I told her to get lost. I was going to tell you, Mama, I swear I was. But then the withdrawal started. Small ones at first. I thought it was a mistake. Then the big one happened. And I knew it was her. And I knew if I told you, she'd hurt you. Or hurt us. So I tried to fix it. I started working with a private investigator. That's what the consulting was. That's why I've been working so late. I was trying to find proof. Before it was too late. The pressure cooker was sealed. We were trapped. Trapped by Cassandra's machinations. Trapped by our own secrets and fears. Trapped by the love that bound us together even as it threatened to tear us apart. Malik was angry and scared, lashing out. Keisha was drowning in guilt and terror. Jamal was our only lifeline, our brilliant, determined protector. But even he looked strained, the weight of the world heavy on his young shoulders. The false resolution came 3 days later. Detective Rollins called. His voice, usually so cold, held a note of something almost like respect. Ms. Reed, we've located Cassandra Thorne, or rather Cassandra Vance, as she's been calling herself. We have her in custody. The affidavit and financial records Mr. Carter provided are compelling. The DA is reviewing the case. There's a strong possibility your charges will be dropped. Relief, sweet and dizzying, washed over me. I sank onto the nearest chair, tears of joy streaming down my face. Thank you, Detective. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet, Rollins cautioned. We need to interview her. Get a confession. Tie it all up neatly. But it looks good. Really good. You and your family should get some rest. I called Malik and Keisha immediately. For the first time in days, I heard genuine laughter on the other end of the line. Malik hooped. Keisha sobbed with relief. We made plans to meet at the center that evening, to celebrate, to finally breathe. The center felt different that night. Lighter. The air, usually thick with the scent of old books and floor wax, seemed cleaner, fresher. Malik had brought pizza. Keisha had brought wine. Jamal, ever the pragmatist, brought a stack of legal pads and pens, already planning our next steps. We sat around the big table in the common room, the same table where Keisha had broken down just days before. We ate, we laughed, we reminisced about the early, chaotic days of the center. For a few precious hours, the shadow of Cassandra Thorne receded. We were just us. A family. Survivors. Malik raised his plastic cup of soda. To Mama Evelyn. The toughest, most stubborn, most amazing woman we know. And to us. The miracle kids who got lucky enough to find her. We clinked our cups together, a chorus of here, here, filling the room. Keisha reached across the table and squeezed my hand, her eyes shining. We did it, Mama E. We're going to be okay. Jamal smiled, a rare, genuine smile that lit up his whole face. We always were. It was perfect. It was peaceful. It was the calm before the storm. The storm broke at midnight. I was asleep, finally enjoying a dreamless, restful slumber, when my phone rang. It was Detective Rollins. His voice was grim, stripped of all the earlier hope. Ms. Reed, I'm sorry. Cassandra Thorne escaped custody 2 hours ago. She overpowered a guard during a transfer. She's gone. The words hit me like a freight train. Gone. Cassandra was gone. Free. And she knew we'd found her. She knew we were close. The false resolution shattered, leaving behind a landscape of pure, unadulterated dread. The celebration was over. The war had just begun, and Cassandra Thorne was nowhere to be found. The midpoint devastation arrived not with a bang, but with a whisper. A single innocuous-looking email, sent from a burner account to Jamal's laptop. He found it the next morning, buried under a pile of legal briefs. The subject line read, "For Jamal. Truth hurts, doesn't it?" Inside was a single attachment. A scanned document. Another birth certificate. Jamal's birth certificate. My hands trembled as I held the printout Jamal had given me. The cheap paper felt like ice against my skin. The words blurred before my eyes, then snapped into horrifying focus. Name, Jamal Alastair Thorne. Mother, Cassandra Thorne. Father, unnamed. Jamal Thorne. Not Jamal Carter. My Jamal. My quiet, brilliant boy who read law books in the library stacks. My son was Cassandra's son. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the kitchen table, my knuckles white. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no. This can't be right. It's a fake. Another one of her lies." Jamal stood across from me, his face ashen, his eyes hollow. He looked like he hadn't slept. I checked Mama Evelyn. I traced the records. Through the hospital. Through the adoption agency. It's real. She didn't just abandon you. She gave birth to me. 18 months after she left you. And then she gave me up too. The unreliable narrator wasn't the story. It was me. My entire perception of our family, of our shared history, of the love that bound us, had been built on a foundation of sand. I'd thought I was the mother who rescued 3 lost souls. But one of those souls was my half-brother. My mother's second discarded child. The past recontextualized itself with brutal, surgical precision. Jamal's quiet intensity. His preternatural understanding of the law, of systems, of how to navigate bureaucracy. Had that come from her? His fierce protectiveness over me. Was that guilt? A sense of obligation to the sister his mother had wronged? The way he'd found the evidence, so quickly, so efficiently, had he known where to look, because part of him had always known who he was? "Jamal," I choked out, tears streaming down my face. "Why didn't you tell me? When you found out?" He looked away, his jaw clenched. "When did I find out?" "The day I got the first birth certificate. The one with your name on it. I ran a cross-check. Standard procedure. Looking for aliases, connections. And I found mine." He swallowed hard. "I didn't tell you because I didn't know how. I didn't know what it meant. For you. For me. For us. I thought if I could just fix this, if I could just get you free, then maybe it wouldn't matter." But it mattered. It mattered more than anything. The hidden connection was a genetic bomb, detonating in the heart of our family. The trust-betrayal cycle reached its zenith. I trusted Jamal with my life, my freedom. And he'd kept the most devastating secret of all. The isolation was immediate and absolute. Malik, when he found out, exploded. He knew? He knew she was his mother? And he didn't tell us? What the hell, Jamal? Were you working with her? Is this some kind of sick game? I wasn't working with her. Jamal shouted back, his own control snapping. I was trying to protect you. All of you. Especially Mama Evelyn. I didn't want her to have to face this. Not on top of everything else. Protect us. Keisha's voice was a venomous hiss. She'd been silent until now, sitting in the corner, her face a mask of cold fury. You lied to us, Jamal. You lied to the one person who loved you more than anything in this world. You used her. You used all of us. I didn't use anyone. Jamal pleaded, looking desperately at me. Mama Evelyn, please. You have to believe me. I love you. You're my mother. In every way that counts. But the words rang hollow. The foundation was gone. The person I'd trusted most in the world, the one who'd promised to save me, was the son of the woman trying to destroy me. The betrayal was too deep, too personal. The support system I'd relied on, the family I'd built with my own 2 hands, crumbled into dust. The high personal stakes were no longer abstract. Cassandra wasn't just after my freedom or my reputation. She was after my heart. She was trying to take away the only thing that had ever truly belonged to me, my children. By revealing Jamal's true parentage, she hadn't just attacked me. She'd turned my children against each other. She'd poisoned the wellspring of our love. The romance subplot, a quiet, slow-burning ember that had been glowing between Malik and Keisha for years, finally reached its peak of intimacy in the ruins of our family. It happened the night after Jamal's secret was revealed. We were all still reeling, scattered like broken glass. I was alone in my apartment, staring blankly at the wall, when a soft knock came at my door. It was Keisha. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale. Without a word, she walked in and wrapped her arms around me, burying her face in my shoulder. I held her, rocking her gently, as she sobbed, great, heaving sobs that seemed to come from the very depths of her soul. "I'm so sorry, Mama E," she wept. "I'm so sorry for everything. For not telling you about Cassandra. For doubting you. For being so angry at Jamal. I'm so scared." "I know, baby," I murmured, stroking her hair. "I'm scared too." She pulled back slightly, looking up at me. "Malik, he's downstairs. In the car. He's been driving around for hours. He won't come up. He says he doesn't know how to face you. Or Jamal." My heart ached for them both. "Go to him, Keisha. Please. He needs you." She hesitated, then nodded. She kissed my cheek and left. I watched from the window as she got into Malik's old, beat-up sedan. I saw him reach across the seat and pull her into a fierce, desperate embrace. I saw her head rest on his shoulder. I saw him hold her, his own shoulders shaking with silent sobs. In that moment, in the midst of utter devastation, their love was the only thing that was real, the only thing that was pure. They were clinging to each other, 2 broken pieces finding solace in the storm. It was beautiful, and it was heartbreaking, because Cassandra's shadow loomed over them too. How could they build a future together when their past, their very family, was built on such a monstrous lie? The peak of their intimacy was also the precipice of their potential destruction. Love in the face of such betrayal felt like a fragile, flickering candle in a hurricane. The darkest descent began with a funeral. Not a real one, but a symbolic one. We buried the New Dawn Community Center. Literally. The city, citing financial irregularities and pending investigations, shut it down, padlocked the doors, posted signs declaring it condemned. All our work, all our memories, all the lives we'd touched gone, erased. We stood in a silent, miserable huddle outside the chained gates, watching the workers put up the barriers. Malik kicked at a loose piece of asphalt, his face dark with rage. Keisha stood with her arms wrapped tightly around herself, shivering despite the warm sun. Jamal was absent. He hadn't been seen since the night he revealed his secret. He'd sent a text, gone to ground. Working. We'll be in touch. That was it. The no way out scenario was complete. Cassandra was still out there, a ghost with a vendetta. The center was gone. My reputation was in tatters. My family was fractured. And I was still under house arrest, a prisoner in my own home, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The sacrifice came from Keisha. She walked into my apartment one evening, her face set in grim determination. She placed her sleek briefcase on the table and opened it. Inside wasn't paperwork or a laptop. It was bundles of cash. Tens, 20s, hundreds. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "From her," Keisha said flatly. "Cassandra. The consulting money. I took it. Every penny. I was going to use it to hire more investigators. To fight her. And now, Keisha said, pushing the case towards me, "It's yours. Use it. For a lawyer. A real one. Not Mr. Finch. Someone who can bury her. Someone who can make her disappear for good." I stared at the money, a small fortune born of betrayal. "Keisha, I can't take this." It's blood money. It's survival money, she corrected, her voice hard. Take it, Mama E. Or I'll throw it in the river. I won't let her win. Not after everything. The moral dilemma was agonizing. Take the money, taint myself with Cassandra's poison, and maybe, just maybe, buy my freedom? Or refuse it, cling to my principles, and risk losing everything? In the end, the choice was no choice at all. I took the case. The weight of it in my hands felt like the weight of my soul. The height of emotions turned every conversation into a battlefield. Malik, when he found out I'd taken the money, was apoplectic. You're using her money? After everything she's done? That's what she wants, Mama E. She wants you to become her. I'm using it to destroy her. I shouted back, my own anger flaring. What would you have me do, Malik? Starve? Rot in prison? Let her win. Yes, he yelled, his eyes blazing. Starve. Rot. Do anything but become like her. You're better than this. The internal conflict mirrored the external disaster perfectly. My fear of becoming Cassandra, of letting her hatred and bitterness seep into my bones, warred with my desperate need to survive, to protect what was left of my family. Every argument with Malik, every tense silence with Keisha, every unanswered text to Jamal, was a fresh wound, a reminder of how far we'd fallen. The separation of the romantic interests was inevitable. The strain of the investigation, the weight of Jamal's secret, the constant, gnawing fear, it was too much. Malik and Keisha, once inseparable, started to drift. They stopped finishing each other's sentences. They stopped holding hands. They stopped looking at each other with that soft, secret light in their eyes. The calm before the storm was a single, perfect afternoon. I was sitting on the fire escape of my apartment, enjoying the rare warmth of the sun, when Malik appeared below, holding 2 ice cream cones. He didn't say anything, just held one up. I climbed down. We sat on the curb, licking our ice cream in silence. The city buzzed around us, but for a few minutes it felt peaceful, distant. Malik bumped my shoulder with his. Remember when Keisha tried to make ice cream sundaes and used salt instead of sugar? A small, genuine laugh escaped me. She cried for an hour. She was so mad at herself, Malik chuckled. Said she was culinarily challenged for life. We smiled at the memory. It was a tiny island of normalcy in a sea of chaos. A reminder of who we were, beneath all the pain and betrayal. We finished our ice cream. Malik stood up, brushing crumbs off his jeans. I should go. Keisha, she wanted to talk. He walked away, his shoulders slumped. I watched him go, a lump forming in my throat. That moment of peace, that shared laugh, it felt like a goodbye. The last gasp of the life we'd known before Cassandra Thorne ripped it apart. The final catastrophe was coming. I could feel it in my bones. And there was nothing I could do to stop it. The impossible choice presented itself on a rain-lashed Tuesday. I was sitting in my lawyer's, my new, expensive shark-like lawyer's, office, reviewing the latest strategy memo, when my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. A text message. Meet me. Alone. Tonight. 8 p.m. The old warehouse on 7th and Main. Come alone or the boy dies. See, the boy. Jamal. He'd been missing for days. We'd filed a missing persons report, but the police were swamped, and Jamal was an adult. They'd promised to look into it. That was it. My blood turned to ice. Cassandra had Jamal, and she was using him as bait, to draw me out, to finish what she started. The shark lawyer, a woman named Victoria Shaw, with eyes like chips of flint, read the text over my shoulder. Don't do it, Evelyn. It's a trap. Call the police. Let them handle it. And if they're too late? I whispered, my voice trembling. If she hurts him? He's my son. He's also the son of your enemy, Shaw said coldly. And he's a grown man. He knew the risks when he went off the grid. This is emotional blackmail, pure and simple. Walk into that warehouse, and you're signing your own death warrant. Or worse, you're giving her exactly what she wants. A confession, a confrontation, a spectacle. She'll kill you, or she'll frame you for something even worse. Either way, you lose. She was right. Logically, rationally, she was absolutely right. Going to that warehouse was suicide. But Jamal was in danger. Because of me. Because he tried to protect me. Because he was, despite everything, my child. The ideological clash was brutal. Survival versus sacrifice. Logic versus love. Self-preservation versus maternal instinct. Shaw represented the cold, hard world of winning at all costs. I represented the messy, irrational, all-consuming power of love. My character arc, the journey from the woman who needed to be needed to the woman who could stand alone, who could make the hard choices, reached its breaking point. My ultimate fear wasn't prison. It wasn't poverty. It was losing my children. And now I was being forced to choose between saving one and potentially dooming myself, and by extension, the others. The double cross came from an unexpected source. As I sat there, paralyzed by indecision, my office door opened. Keisha walked in. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her hair unkempt, her clothes rumpled. But her eyes were burning with a fierce, desperate light. "I'm going with you," she said, her voice firm. I stared at her. "What?" "No. Keisha, you can't. It's too dangerous." "I'm not asking Mama E," she said, walking over and placing a hand on my shoulder. "I'm telling you, you're not walking into that lion's den alone. Not after everything." Shaw sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "This is getting worse. Now there are two of you." Keisha ignored her. She looked at me, her gaze steady. "Jamal's my brother. He's family. I failed him once, by not telling you about Cassandra. I won't fail him again. We go together, or not at all." The rhythm of the story, the slow, agonizing build-up of tension, shattered. The careful planning, the legal maneuvering, the cautious steps, all evaporated. This was raw primal. This was love and desperation colliding head-on with evil. We didn't wait for Shaw's approval. We didn't call the police. We left her office, two women bound by a love stronger than fear, walking straight into the heart of darkness. We found strength not in external help, but in each other, in the unbreakable, albeit battered, bond of mother and daughter. The multi-level resolution began in that moment. We weren't just going to rescue Jamal. We were going to end this. For good. We were going to face Cassandra Thorne, not as victims, but as warriors. As a family. Together. The climactic revelation unfolded in the belly of the beast. The derelict warehouse on 7th and Main. Rain lashed against the grimy skylights, casting long, dancing shadows across the cavernous space. The air was thick with the smell of damp concrete, rust, and decay. We moved silently, Keisha and I, our footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. Every nerve was screaming. Every shadow looked like a threat. We found them in what must have been the old foreman's office. Jamal was tied to a chair, a gag in his mouth, his face bruised but his eyes blazing with defiance. Standing behind him, one hand resting possessively on his shoulder, was Cassandra Thorne. She was ordinary. That was the first shocking thought. Not a monster. Not a witch. Just a woman. Late 50s, maybe. Dressed in neat, unremarkable clothes, a beige trench coat, sensible shoes. Her hair was a neat, unremarkable brown bob. Her face was unlined, pleasant even, except for the eyes. The eyes were cold, empty, like chips of dirty ice. "Evelyn," she said, her voice smooth, cultured, utterly devoid of warmth. "And Keisha." "How predictable. I told you to come alone." "You have my son," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "Let him go. This is between you and me." Cassandra laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Your son? Oh, Evelyn. Still playing the martyr? Still clinging to your little fantasy family?" She squeezed Jamal's shoulder, making him flinch. "This is my son. My flesh and blood. Just like you were. And look what you've done to him. Dragged him into your sordid little world of charity cases and financial ruin." "Let him go, Cassandra," Keisha said, stepping forward, her voice trembling with rage. "He didn't do anything to you. Didn't he?" Cassandra's gaze flicked to Keisha. "He betrayed me. Just like his father did. Just like you all do. Her eyes returned to me, filled with a venomous hatred that stole my breath. You think you're so noble, Evelyn? Taking in strays? Building your little empire of pity? You're just like me. You took them in because you were empty. Because you needed something to fill the hole I left. You used them, just like I used you. The slow burn of 25 years of resentment, of abandonment, of unanswered questions, exploded into an inferno. I loved them. I screamed, the sound raw and ragged, echoing off the metal walls. I gave them everything I had, everything you threw away. And look where it got you. Cassandra shrieked, her own composure cracking. Look at you, a convicted felon, a laughingstock. Your precious center is gone. Your children hate you. You're nothing, less than nothing. You were always nothing. The explosive release wasn't physical. It was verbal. It was the dam breaking, the years of pain and anger and confusion pouring out in a torrent. You left me. I sobbed, the tears finally coming, hot and furious. You left me on a church step. You didn't want me. And then you had him. I pointed at Jamal. And you didn't want him either. What is wrong with you? What kind of monster abandons her own children? Cassandra's face contorted with rage. You ungrateful little bitch. You think you had it hard? Try being me. Trapped in a loveless marriage. Pregnant at 19. With no money, no prospects, no future. I gave you up to save you. To give you a chance at a better life. And you threw it away. You became a nobody. A charity case yourself. The triumph wasn't in overpowering her. It was in seeing her for what she truly was. Not a powerful villain. Not a mastermind. Just a bitter, broken, deeply unhappy woman, lashing out at the world because she'd never learned how to love. How to be loved. You didn't give me up to save me. I said, my voice suddenly calm, cold. You gave me up because you were selfish. Because you couldn't be bothered. And you're doing it again. You're trying to destroy Jamal because he dared to love someone else. Someone better than you. Cassandra's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed into slits. You don't know anything about me. I know enough, I said. I know you're pathetic. I know you're alone. And I know my children, my real children, the ones I chose, the ones who chose me back, they will never be you. They have hearts. They have love. Something you'll never understand. The subverting of tropes was complete. The villain didn't get a dramatic monologue explaining her master plan. She got exposed as a petty, jealous, emotionally stunted woman. The hero didn't win through physical strength or clever tricks. She won by refusing to play the victim, by embracing the love she'd built, by showing the villain the true cost of her hatred. The collective victory was palpable. As I spoke, Jamal strained against his bonds, his eyes locked on mine, filled with pride and love. Keisha stepped closer to me, her hand finding mine, squeezing tight. We were a unit, a family. Against her, the thematic resonance was deafening. This wasn't just about embezzlement or false imprisonment. It was about the enduring power of chosen family, about love conquering hatred, about identity being forged through action, not biology, about the victory of compassion over bitterness. The symbolic victory was Jamal's. As Cassandra stood there, sputtering with incoherent rage, the sound of sirens pierced the air, growing louder, closer. Shaw, it seemed, hadn't been idle. She'd called the police after all. Cassandra's head snapped up, panic flashing across her face for the first time. No, you didn't. You. She never finished her sentence. In that moment of distraction, Jamal, with a strength born of pure desperation, rocked his chair violently backwards. It crashed to the floor. He rolled, kicking out with his bound legs, catching Cassandra behind the knee. She cried out, stumbling. Keisha didn't hesitate. She lunged forward, tackling Cassandra around the waist, bringing her down in a tangle of limbs. I rushed to Jamal, fumbling with the ropes, binding his wrists. The final twist, the one that was both shocking and inevitable in hindsight, came as I finally freed Jamal's hands. He ripped the gag from his mouth, gasping for air. He looked at me, his eyes filled with tears. Mama Evelyn, I'm so sorry. For everything. For not telling you. for being his son. I pulled him into a fierce hug. You're my son, Jamal. Always. Nothing will ever change that. He clung to me for a moment, then pulled back, his expression grim. There's something else. Something she didn't tell you. Something I found out before she grabbed me. He looked over at Cassandra, who was struggling futilely against Keisha's hold. She didn't just embezzle the money to frame you. She did it to pay off a debt to a very dangerous man, a man who's been looking for her for years. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the grimy windows. Cassandra's face, as she heard Jamal's words, turned a sickly shade of gray. The fear in her eyes was real. And it wasn't fear of the police. The victory wasn't clean. It wasn't easy. But it was ours. Cassandra Thorne was led away in handcuffs, not just for framing me, but for a mountain of other crimes Jamal's investigation had uncovered: fraud, identity theft, and now, the looming threat of whatever debt she'd incurred. The dangerous man Jamal mentioned? That was a problem for another day. For now, she was going away. For a very long time. The satisfying resolution began in the quiet aftermath. The charges against me were formally dropped. The New Dawn Community Center, after a fierce public campaign led by Malik and Keisha, was not only reopened, but received an influx of donations that ensured its future for years to come. The city, eager to make amends, offered us a brand new building. The full circle moment came on the opening day of the new center. I stood on the small stage, looking out at the crowd, former kids we'd helped, community leaders, friends, and my family. Malik, beaming with pride, stood to my right, his arms slung casually around Keisha's shoulders. She was smiling, a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. Jamal stood to my left, looking handsome and serious in a suit, already being courted by top law firms. I looked out at the sea of faces, my heart so full it ached. 25 years ago, I began, my voice clear and strong. I took a chance. I opened my door and my heart to 3 lost souls. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan. I just knew they needed a home. And in giving them one, they gave me something far more precious. They gave me a family. They gave me a purpose. They taught me that love, real, messy, complicated, unconditional love, is the most powerful force in the world. I looked at Malik, at Keisha, at Jamal. They taught me that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choice. It's about showing up. It's about fighting for each other, even when the world tries to tear you apart. Even when the darkness comes from your own past. The bittersweet element was there, woven into the fabric of our victory. We had won, but we were scarred. The trust that had been broken between us, especially with Jamal, would take time to fully heal. The shadow of Cassandra and the dangerous man she owed still lingered at the edges of our lives. The old center, with all its memories, was gone forever. But the closure on key relationships was real. Malik and Keisha, having faced the abyss together, emerged stronger. Their love, tempered by fire, was deeper, more resilient. Jamal, after weeks of intense, painful conversations, finally found peace. He didn't have to choose between me and the ghost of his biological mother. He chose me. He chose us. He legally changed his name to Jamal Carter Reed. The emotional beat orchestration reached its crescendo as I stepped down from the stage. Malik and Keisha enveloped me in a group hug, laughing and crying. Jamal hung back for a moment, then walked over and wrapped his arms around all of us, burying his face in my shoulder. "I love you, Mama Evelyn," he whispered. "I love you too, baby," I whispered back, holding him tight. More than anything in this world. The subtle setup for continuation was the unspoken question hanging in the air. The dangerous man Jamal mentioned. Cassandra's debt. It was a thread, a whisper of future trouble. But it didn't diminish our victory. It simply reminded us that life, even after the happily ever after, is never truly without its challenges. And that was okay. We were ready. We were a family. We could face anything. Together. What did this story teach you about the power of chosen family? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more stories that will change how you see the world.